we'll let Al give a speech
Thank
here.
you there, Chris.
You're welcome. Al just celebrated his 95th birthday. I believe it was last Saturday, something like that.
Yeah.
We had a celebration for you, and what an accomplishment, to be 95 years old and as sharp as he is and as active as he is. I mean, there's a lot of us that I hope when I hit that age, if I'm that way, that'd be wonderful. So, Al, I'm going to kind of let you give a talk if you'd like. If you want to stand up or you can sit, it's up to you.
Well, I prefer to sit.
All right, I'm sure we all can hear you, so go ahead.
Okay. I want to thank you all for the honor of being a citizen, one of the older citizens. I was born in 1920 in the block, one side of the Franklin School, middle of the block there, in what was called then those days the Newman House. Newman was a principal in Tell City sometime before that, and they named the Newman School after it. There was one tall hat in the attic, I recall, like Abraham Lincoln used to wear, and they said that was Newman's hat. I presume that was the case. I don't know. The earliest time I remember a time of was in 1924. My sister was born, and she was born in the hospital. I was born in the Newman House, at the Parkview Hospital. And she was gone. My mother was gone. I asked for her, and I wanted her. They told me she was in the hospital waiting for where a stork was going to deliver a baby. And I put all my talent to get to work, get to the bottom of this thing. Why couldn't the stork bring it to the house? Why did she have to go there? But no matter how I tried, I couldn't get straight answers. I didn't try. I had to lump that one. That's some other things. Better keep in line here. My memory ain't that great. Tell City was a much smaller town in those days than it is now. When I was 5 years old, we moved down to the story. It was a two-story building then. And we lived upstairs, and the kitchen was in the back downstairs. In the Newman House, we had plumbing and hot water heat. In that, there we didn't. And most houses in Tell City, or at least a lot, I can't say whether it was half or less than half, did not have plumbing. They may have had water. Water was frequently put as inexpensively as possible. The mains were in the alley. And they'd run a pipe up across the lot line and put one of those faucets there that had 4 levers on top. And you wanted water in the house, you went out there, got a bucket full and brought it in. And of course, those who had a little more had it run up there and had a sink in the house. But there was a lot of both kinds. Outside toilets were very popular. I suspect half the town had those. But things improved as time went along. Telsey didn't extend any past 12th Street. Was farmland past there. But there were a fair number of houses on 12th Street, although it didn't go to 37. I learned early how the city was laid out. My dad had sales and he had bills to pass. Well, he had 2 boys to pass them. So after a couple of trips, I would argue about, did I have to get this house on the block? There was only one house in that block and had to walk a block and a half to get to it. And I knew the layout of the city very well. There were a few large homes down beyond Main Street between Main and the river, and a lot of small homes. Most people walked to work. There were very, very few cars. And cars were not things that could be left outside either. They were usually just gotten out on Sunday for a Sunday afternoon trip. And most factories worked 5.5 days at least. And the factory owners, there were a few big houses downtown, down past Main Street, because the factory owners lived near the factories. The Obrecht house was across the street from the Obrecht factory down in there. Chris Fenn lived a catty corner from the Obrecht house, and he ran the chair factory. His dad had run it prior to him. He lived in the Fenn house, which was on the other side of the factory. The Fenn house was an enormous house. Fenn did that Fenn, AP Fenn, did the things with the big road, evidently. But across the street was the Zerker house. Jake and Fenn were partners. This was before my time, but I knew about it. And it was an enormous house. Bill Connor built it, and I bought it one time and had it torn down. That's where some of the storage buildings I have are. Emil Crespin lived behind the Fisher Chair Company. So that's the way they did it those days. Nowadays they live 50 miles away, but transportation was as it is. Everyone walked, as I said, very few had cars. That was really a scarce item. Factory workers didn't ordinarily have cars. One passing of Bill's was more pleasurable to my brother and I. Ford Motor Company was sponsoring some thing, I don't know, about tires and cars, and a Ford Tri-Motor came in down below the brick plant, and they were giving rides for passing the entire town with Bill's promoting this. We got 2 tickets to ride. In the Navy, I recall when I was in Battle of Tarawa, we got a little sheet of paper about this size. It was electronically transmitted Tell City News. It didn't have the whole news in it. There were maybe 2 sheets in the whole thing. And Edgar had written an article. I showed it around to the guys, who were many of them from New York and so on. And we had big life. Edgar said people had been going by a house on Tell Street. The house was where the Frost Top is now located. And there was a loud screaming, high-pitched screaming coming from the back. And a number of people ran back to the back outhouse. That's where it was coming from. And it turned out it was some small boy, he named him. He had gone back to do his business and decided to not take the kid's hole. He got the big hole and he leaned back and he was down inside. His screams were loud. Somebody named the person. He volunteered to be, he was small, and 2 men got him by each leg, and they lowered him down head first, and he grasped the kid and pulled him out. And Edgar said he should get a Carnegie Medal which was given for life-saving, swimming. When I got back, I never did ask him if he was issued the Carnegie Medal or not. I don't know, but there were a lot of outhouses. I've been here most of my life, and I've enjoyed it. And I got a lot of traveling when I was in the Navy. I went from Great Lakes to San Diego to take up fire controlling. From San Diego to New York to a ship in the dry dock in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, out past the Statue of Liberty, through the Panama Canal, back to San Diego for one day, out to Honolulu. From Honolulu, I was all over the Pacific Ocean. I put in almost 200,000 miles in the ship in one place after another. The first place we ever had was we raided Wake Island. I didn't know this till after the war was over. We knew very little about what went on, what was projected, although we knew where we were going. The radio men were enlisted men, and it was spread around. But the Japs, after we raided Wake Island, they had a lot of prisoners. They stood them up and shot them after that, which wasn't a good thing. Then after, I almost heard MacArthur make his speech that he was famous for, the I have returned speech to the Philippines. We had got things quieted down in the Philippines, and we were anchored in Leyte Gulf, a whole group of ships, an enormous bunch. That's a big gulf. Can't see the other side of it. And mountains around, and some Jap snuck down through the mountain passes, and they didn't see him. Nobody saw him coming, and he dive bombed the destroyer in our squadron in front of us, and I had to go to GQ, and he was to give the speech on the PA system at 9 o'clock, and this happened about 8:45, so I missed his speech. And we came back from San Francisco to San Francisco to get overhauled. I was transferred to Washington, D.C., and ended the war there. Then they sent me back to San Francisco, and back to Chicago, and back home again, where I have stayed ever since. Unfortunately, my wife has had Alzheimer's and is now over here in Oakwood. She still knows me, but I've enjoyed a long time here in town. And happy to know all you folks.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that. We look forward to presenting you with the plaque and have your name put on the plaque at the museum here next Wednesday. So if you can, please join us for that.